my little weirdos. Listen, I know I look a mess. The bed's a mess. But I have been waiting to hear the numbers for the protest because it wasn't a holiday weekend. It was Passover and Easter. And we were worried about how many would show. We wanted more than last time, but at least as many, being a holiday weekend, a double holiday. And I was waiting for I rebooted and I was on my phone. I saw this on the 50501 and I was like, oh my god. It's 2 hours. Okay, I'm babbling. Listen.
Protests got a lot of mainstream media coverage. I don't know if the protests a couple of weeks ago were like a surprise to the headline writers and newsrooms of America's major news outlets, but for whatever reason, a couple of weeks ago, that huge day of protest was really kind of played down or just underplayed somehow in the mainstream press. That definitely turned around for the protest this weekend. Headline, New York Times, shame, protesters nationwide rally again to condemn Trump policies. Thousands of demonstrators rallied at hundreds of events on Saturday to speak out against the president's handling of immigration, civil liberties, job cuts, and many other issues. The Times front page protest photos and protest signs like these ones, for sale, democracy, and resist, if not now, when, and arrest the kidnappers.
Sorry.
Headline, Washington Post, 51 protests rally small towns and big cities against Trump policies.
If you want to watch it, it's the MSNBC. Anti-Trump protests sweep the nation, crossing the threshold of mainstream media attention is the title. And you'll be able to see she's just flashing signs from all over the country. And she mentions the protest. They have clips that people have sent from the different groups that we've sent in. And she has clips, and she has different ones, and they keep switching them, and she's telling them, you'll hear her say West Caldwell, New Jersey. That's the one I was at.
Protesters gathered in hundreds of rallies across the country to denounce President Donald Trump. The Washington Post news coverage, front page, the big crowd in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Monument, including this sign front and center, innocent until proven guilty. Headline, the Associated Press. Anti-Trump protesters rally in New York, Washington, and elsewhere across the country. Elsewhere is doing a lot of work in that headline, given how many protests there were. But the AP front page, this big banner outside the White House fence, Trump must go now.
Next gotta watch this video, guys.
Kilmer Abrego Garcia. Headline, USA Today, nationwide hands-off 50-51 protests against Trump continue for second weekend. They front page this upside-down American flag in the foreground, hanging, of course, in a way to signify distress. And then you can see the signs there, no king.
That's what we needed. We needed them to start
in prison.
Covering them.
Headline, CNN, protesters denounce Trump administration in nationwide rallies while supporting impacted communities. Here's the Boston Globe. No kings. Anti-Trump demonstrations around Boston invoke American Revolution. Here's the BBC. Thousands join anti-Trump protests across U.S. This is a good sign. I've only ever seen this once. Don't piratize Social Security. Very well done. Here's The Guardian, which is also based in Britain. Protesters filled the streets in cities across the U.S. to denounce Trump agenda. Here's Reuters, the news service. Thousands of protesters rally against Trump across the United States. Here's Bloomberg. Anti-Trump protesters turn out from New York City to San...
I'm sorry for interrupting again, but this is... I'm just so... I haven't listened to this whole video. I just went on YouTube because I saw it on Facebook. And I was like, that was the first, I was like, this has to be it. I'm just coming down so I'm not like making noise so you can hear. Wow. The reason I'm so emotional is because like she said, the last one was like almost like 5 million, but they weren't covering it. It wasn't getting it to everybody else what was happening, the people that aren't paying attention. And then it wasn't therefore getting very far out to the other countries. But apparently we made notice finally, because it's a holiday weekend.
Francisco, and may I suggest everywhere in between. Here's CBS News. Anti-Trump rallies held across the U.S. to protest administration's policies. Here's NPR. Protesters unite against Trump in hundreds of rallies across the U.S. No more tariffs on the sign there. Here's the LA Times. Anti-Trump protesters rally again in cities across the country. Impeach and remove being spelled out in bodies on the beach, on the front page of the LA Times. This was the lead story.
I have a
NBC
picture of
News
that on
Saturday
Facebook.
night. You see the chyron there at the bottom. Massive anti-Trump protests across the country.
San Francisco on the beach. They got an aerial shot of people, and I think they said it was all like older people, maybe. I'm not sure though. But it had a big piece and a big circle, and it said like spelled out with the bodies, impeach, remove, and they had an American flag, all on the beach and taken from the sky. That was, and I actually made a graphic of it, and it's on my Facebook page, on the political page.
Tonight, protests across the country, from Denver to Midtown Manhattan.
You should
right
watch
outside
the
White
video.
House,
It's
people voicing anger at the Trump administration,
first one I've
including
seen.
over its recent immigration action.
This is the first video I've seen of the weekend, because right after, the day after, was Easter, and then yesterday I was kind of taking the day out because I was recovering.
I don't know if the mainstream media catching up now to what's been going on in the streets, I don't know if it's a big advance for that movement against Trump or not. But it's at least worth noting that it is starting to happen. It really
is a big
been happening before, and it is now. The coverage is now there. That said,
it is.
Judging from the literally hundreds of protest videos and images that we reviewed over the weekend and compiled, my sense is that the
She's got it graphed. It's like 15 squares and showing them videos,
regardless of the level of coverage they get, even though they are now getting more coverage. This is
it will help the
these
coverage.
are hard to put together, but we've done it. Okay, so from left to right and then top to bottom, what you're looking at here is, ready? Anti-Trump protests this weekend in Chicago, Minneapolis, Anchorage. There was a whole bunch of protests in Alaska this weekend. We'll talk about that in a second, but that's Anchorage, third from the left in the middle there on the top row.
That's right.
Then Jacksonville, Florida, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Philly, Portland, Oregon, Little Rock, Arkansas, Omaha, of course, New York City, massive crowds in New York City, Denver, Houston, Washington, D.C.,
big states,
Cleveland, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho, Hartford, Connecticut, and then the last two there, Indianapolis and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I paused there on Anchorage because they really did have a very big crowd in Anchorage this weekend. Thousands of people turned out in Anchorage. And you see some of the signs there, quite good. Due process is a right, not a privilege. There's the big one there up on the right that just says, nope. This is a very good one, actually. It's the only time I've seen this exact phrasing. Only caring about your own rights is exactly how you lose them. That's very good. Orange sign just to the right of that. Nixon and McCarthy weren't this bad. I agree. You may also see another one on the left there that's specific to where this is. Dan and Nick stand up for the rule of law. That's about Republican Senator Dan Sullivan and Republican Congressman Nick Begich, both of whom have been very pro-Trump, even as Alaska's other Republican representative in Congress, Senator Lisa Murkowski, has mildly criticized him, but
she
Dan
says
and Nick,
she's afraid to use her voice.
And
you get the fuck out of
for whatever reason, it wasn't just the big turnout they got in Anchorage. There were a ton of protests all over Alaska at this time. Gustavus, Alaska, population 600 something. That's a significant portion of the town. There's only 600 people in the town. Soldotna, Alaska, all along the main drag there. People outside the auto zone. Bethel, Alaska. It was really cold and rainy, but people turned out in Bethel, Alaska. Look at the turnout in Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks.
That's a
had
red
tons of people turn out
state.
this weekend at Nome, Alaska. N-O-M-E, Nome. Protesters posted up there again at the marker for the end of the Iditarod sled dog race.
Even freaking Alaska
disappearing people.
is sick of this
along
shit.
those lines and protests we saw everywhere all over the country.
I mean,
Kodiak,
seriously.
Alaska, another good turnout there. Lots of American flags. United we stand, divided we fall. Beautiful Kodiak, Alaska. This was Homer, Alaska. Homer Head Start, 32 years. Keep it going. As Trump says, of course, he wants to eliminate the entire Head Start program everywhere in the country. Town in Alaska that didn't protest this weekend. I watched local news reports in Alaska. There were protests on Saturday, all simultaneously in Juneau, Seward, Wasilla, Anchorage, Gustavus, Soldotna, Bethel, Fairbanks, Nome, Kodiak, Homer. I might have even missed some. Oh, Petersburg, Alaska.
I know you're doing this in like a podcast type of thing because you're not seeing it, so you're hearing the different places. But you should go watch this video after yourself, because right now you're concentrating because you're not seeing. You're concentrating on hearing the places, the states, and all the different towns in that state. When you go watch it yourself, you won't have to be listening to that as much as concentrate on looking at the different signs. Because both ways, I'll probably have to watch this again, to concentrate on looking at the signs. I'm just listening to it right now. Otherwise, I'd have my reading glasses on. But I just want to hear the different places. So I will watch this again and look at the signs and probably take screenshots of some of them for graphics. I already did that with some of them this morning, just from the the Facebook groups of the places, like 50501 New Jersey, Indivisible, National Alt Parks, So I would suggest doing that because some of these signs are really good.
Well, Petersburg's super cute. They call it Little Norway. They turned out to protest in Petersburg, Alaska against Trump this weekend. Hey, Elon, Mars beckons. And that's just a snapshot of one state. That's just Alaska. That was kind of on fuego this weekend. But, if you want to generalize, I think, about how the protests against Trump are evolving now that we're 90 whatever days in, I would say that the media is now covering these protests more and more, and I think that's part because there's a lot of them and they're big. I think it's also maybe because the media is realizing that Trump is only getting less and less popular with each passing day in each new poll. This protest movement to the media, I think, seems like a tangible way to see and describe and report on that. In terms of other changes and evolutions in the anti-Trump movement, I would say for this weekend in particular, one other change we saw is that in a lot of places, people added food drives and clothing drives and other really practical efforts to build donations for food pantries and other local resources that have been hit so hard by Trump's cuts. And those food drives happened alongside the marches and rallies, which is really constructive. I would also say in general that we are, if you want a generalized perception of what's going on in terms of how this movement is changing, I would say we're seeing more protests in red states and in Republican areas of blue or purple states.
We're feeling less alienated and more like there are others who are saying what the fuck. There are others saying, yeah, the Republicans. So she has a point there. And that's true. And that's one of the reasons with like the clothing drives or the food drives. There's a lot of people that want to come out and just do that and give it to that. They wouldn't necessarily come to see the rally type of, the protest. But if they're there doing stuff, then they start maybe asking somebody, so what is it that you're upset about? You know what I mean? And if there's somebody who doesn't generally get into politics, like my own family, now they're trying to be like, wait, should I be worried? There's people going out every fucking weekend yelling at us about shit? Wait, maybe we should listen. That's exactly what we were trying to do, Rachel. That's exactly one of the things we needed. First and foremost, we have to be covered. All of this, if the media, the mainstream, is not covering us, it's just making the job harder. You start covering it, you start informing those who haven't been really. I mean, those of us who have are like, how could you not? But a lot of people not. This is important, Rachel, and she knows it.
And that's my impression from looking at all the footage that I have looked at from this weekend's event. Here's some more. Here's Amarillo, Texas this weekend. Here's the big turnout they got in Atlanta, Georgia this weekend. Tons of people turned out in Atlanta.
I heard a lot.
Really big turnout in Boise, Idaho. Boise, again and again and again, has been turning out huge numbers of people in Idaho. Here's Carson City, Nevada. Look how many people turned out in Carson City.
Whoa!
Outside the state legislature building there. Carson City,
It
of
looks
course,
almost.
the capital.
It looks like ours
did. Thousands of people
did.
turned out to protest in Chicago once again. Chicago definitely showing up. Here's Clarksburg, West Virginia, outside the Harrison County Courthouse. Here's Cincinnati on the left side of your screen. Here's
She's doing this
Columbus
every
on the
day,
right
they
side of
say.
your screen. Ohio has been turning out a lot of anti-Trump protests throughout this past
Rachel,
90 days. This weekend was no exception in Ohio. Here's Michigan. Here's Detroit on the left side.
Rachel, I think you know what you're doing. Thank you. From all of the organizations, thank you. Hands off, indivisible, thank you. Because we need, you're the one who started showing this before the others did. You're the one that helped us get from us to them, so thank you. And to be honest, I was kind of hoping it would be Rachel to be the one to say, hey guys, you got to start paying attention.
Your screen in Grand Rapids on the right side of your screen. Michigan, like Ohio, has been turning out lots and lots of Trump protests with big crowds. This was Saturday in Detroit and in Grand Rapids. There's big crowd protesting in Denver this weekend, yet again.
That's huge.
Denver, Colorado. Also, Fargo, North Dakota turned up this weekend. People along the main drag there in Fargo. Concord, Massachusetts, they celebrated the 250th anniversary on Saturday of the first battle of the Revolutionary War, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The anti-tyranny, no kings theme dovetailed very well between the commemoration of the American Revolution
That
and
was
the
done
many
on
people who turned
purpose.
out there to protest against Trump at the same time.
Do you know that that night the Old North Church flat had 3 different messages, light messages, on their building about 250 years ago on that night? Paul Revere and Abigail took to the streets of the newly formed America and rode through the night warning everybody that the British were coming. And I think it said, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. I think the Old North Church said something about 3 if by DC or something like that. Because 1 light will be hung if they're coming by land. 1 light would be hung if they're coming by sea. 3 lights because it's coming from inside the house in DC.
Let's do a few more of these. This is left to right, top to bottom. That's Huntersville, North Carolina. Really big, impressive turnout in Los Angeles. Morgantown, West Virginia, where they have been hit very hard by Trump destroying federal offices and agencies. Lower left, that's Mobile, Alabama. Lower center, that's New Haven, Connecticut. And lower right there, that's
doing
Raleigh,
6
North
at a
Carolina.
time
They had
now.
a really big turnout in Raleigh. Look at that crowd. Here's another group. Upper left, that's West Caldwell, New Jersey. Upper center, that's
where I was. That's where I was.
Portland, Maine. On the right, on the top, that's Newton, New Jersey. Lower left, that's Westmont, Illinois. Mesa, Arizona in the center on the bottom there. And beautiful Livingston, Montana on the lower right. We saw big protests this weekend in Greenville, South Carolina, and in Springfield, Ohio, which you will remember, that's where Donald Trump and J.D. Vance attacked Haitian immigrants in perverse terms. Lots of protesters out in San Diego, California. New Orleans, people turned out in the French Quarter to protest. We say no to deportations, protect immigrant rights. Sacramento, California, big turnout in their Trump protest this weekend. Norwalk, Connecticut. Surprise, Arizona. Topeka, Kansas.
Wow.
There's just a couple more. I think the big crowd in Topeka.
It's a big crowd, and Kansas is red. They're like conservative.
This was Rock Hill, South Carolina. The Easter Bunny says, hop away from fascism. No more rotten eggs in the White House.
It's an Easter Bunny.
St. Paul, Minnesota, where they turned out just a very, look at this, very, very large crowd of people to protest against Trump this weekend. Again, in St. Paul. They keep doing this.
Minnesota
I could go on and on and on for a very long time with this.
Well, Minnesota's had to be put up with Pillow Dude for all these years. I mean, they're done with everything, you know? So, yeah, I could see Minnesota just being like, pull their plugs. I hear ya, Minnesota.
The first 50-51 protest, and again, 50-51 stands for 50 protests in 50 states on one day. The first one that they held was in February. It's mostly at state capitals. They actually had more than 50 protests that day, but
February
less than 100.
25th or something.
Now, in April, in the same month, we had one day with over 1,000 simultaneous protests, another one this weekend with over 900 simultaneous protests. I mean, some of these protests this week, this month, we've seen tens of thousands of people. A few that topped 100,000 people. Sounds like the next one of these is not going to be on a Saturday. It's going to be on May Day, on Thursday, May 1st. We shall see.
May 1st through the 3rd.
But again, I think in general what we are seeing is that more of the media is figuring out that this is quite a thing. This is not business as usual. This is quite a thing that is happening over and over again at state capitals and on overpasses and on town squares and on street corners and in all sorts of unexpected places.
We are yelling people.
States. My sense is that as Trump's poll numbers continue to drop, not only
they'll
are
be
the
covering them
protests going to
more
grow and spread, but they're going to get more and more attention as well as the dominant news narrative in the country becomes not just what it has been, which is the failures and mistakes and scandals of the administration.
That is what we want.
But I think the dominant narrative in the country is becoming not just that disastrous behavior by Trump, but also the country saying no to him.
Sorry, I keep pausing, but you all don't want to have to listen to me here blowing my nose. It's bad enough you gotta watch me blubbering here.
And resisting him more
it's
and
almost
more
over.
and more all the time. And that's not just a vibe or a feeling. That is a granular thing that is happening. With these protests that we are seeing all over the frickin' country over and over and over again.
Finally, they're being found. They're seen. We're seen, finally. Oh my God. I'm going to have to go back and see what footage. I know that was not my footage. Because I uploaded footage. I got 2 clips. But I'm going to have to go back and see. I'll be able to tell. I could see they did. They had like 3 or I think it was like 4 police cars on one side and 2 or 3 on the other, just parked police cars. We had because we wanted to line the road, but nobody was going to see us, so you didn't want to stand next to a police car, hit it or something, So they kind of blocked us in those areas. So we just went on either side of the cars and just went further down to the stoplight. And they just went further up the hill, up the other way. But we didn't want to stand behind the cars, we didn't want to stand. I mean, we were on the sidewalk anyway, but it's a cop car, You move or something, you hit it. I mean, come on, we don't need any issues. So yes, I will go and go through it again later. Wow, that's awesome. It's awesome that Wes Caldwell, the one I got, was at. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let me tell you something. I was so emotional because that's the first time I've seen that. I nearly fell off my chair when I was waiting for my computer. I was because I haven't rebooted it in a couple days. And I was looking at my phone and I saw that on I think it was the 50501. I was like, and it said something, and I heard her say Wes Caldwell. I was like, I couldn't wait till the stupid thing booted up to go immediately and look. I knew this had to be the video that she did it in, but I'm glad I saw it, not just because it's kind of cool that the one you were at was shown, but knowing that this made a difference. And we were talking about that too beforehand, that the fact that it's on a holiday weekend, and it's Easter and Passover, really I think got some of the attention, because what the hell is so important that people are out here the day before Easter, for God's sake? You know what I'm saying? Some people that weren't, like I said, aren't cognizant how serious we're talking about right now. They know now. They know now. In fact, I got when I was on the phone, I got a messenger from Facebook. And it was from a gal, and I'm like, why do I remember that name? I know that name. I have her as a friend on Facebook. How do I know her? Let me think. And I started to read, and it said, hey, I met you in front of the Michaels, and such and such, and in Tucson, Arizona. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah. And then we came friends. That's right. And she said, you moved to New Jersey, right? She says, what I had done was yesterday on my Facebook, on your story, I had just wrote, that I had put up that black graphic that you have, that you see, that says the SAVE Act, and it crossed it out, right? And I had put that up saying, it's a deceiving name. It's saving fascism, not democracy. Because it says the SAVE Act, makes it sound like you're saving something in America. And basically I'm saying, tell your reps and your senators to vote no on it. Because that's the voter suppression, it's not voter, help, it's voter suppression. They're trying to say it's saving the voting, the whole voting is rigged, the whole, 2020 bullshit thing. And there that was this morning. She goes, listen, I'm old. My attention is not long. So if you can just make it fat, just tell me what's happening. So I told her what I just told you. I typed out, I sent, they're lying. It's the SAVE Act is all that stuff for the voter, to vote with the you have to get the license that has the star, and if your birth name on your birth certificate doesn't match your current ID or license, and women that are married or have been divorced or widowed that didn't go back to their maiden name legally, through the court, go and change it, all of those women are going to be unable to vote because they cannot do the required things, because their married name is their married name, and they're doing that to disenfranchise women. I think other women need to say something about this. And I after I answered her, I would just dissolved in tears, and I left a voice for my sister, voice text, because I was like, all those years ago, I've been here 13 years. She remembered me. She remembered me from 15 years ago, chatting with her in front of a Michael's across the country. And she said, I've looked at some of the graphics that you've done, and that's why I'm thinking maybe one person I made a difference to. One person I actually got to pay attention. And even if it was just one person that I was able to reach and maybe change their mind about democracy and fighting for it before it's too late, if just one or two people I reached, then it was worth all the years and time. I know but I'm just so you don't understand. Sometimes even us, people like Brian, we get so tired of all of this. There's so much going on, the little shit that gets stopped and thwarted, but they try to do that. A lot of you guys never hear about because you're not watching these things hours and hours per day. I have the time to do that. That's why I do this. Because I take these things that you might not find because you don't have unlimited time. You have jobs and stuff. But this is my job, to get those things and break them down into smaller pieces and give them to you. That's my whole damn job. And it's a volunteer job. But knowing that I made a difference, and so long ago, even before I was really into politics, the fact that after talking with me that she felt that I was reliable enough, all these years later, it's just knowing she's kind of seen things I've said and stuff, posted. I didn't even know anybody was watching like that, you know? And it's times like this that I just say, gosh, I am so happy that I'm on the correct side, universe, because if I was pulling people the wrong way, I would feel so horrible. If I wasn't just going wrong myself, you know, I was taking others with me. That would that would upset me. I mean, it's hard enough to make an assessment and then realize, oh, I got myself in the wrong direction. But to know that you also sent others in the wrong direction too, that bothers me. That would bother me. I don't know how that doesn't bother some people. That you misled somebody. How can that not bother people? I don't understand any of it. But at any rate, probably over half hour for sure by now. But they're noticing, guys. Anybody who notices, please tell others that this is something they do all need to pay attention to. Otherwise, our country is going to be not what you recognize. Literally. Do you want us to be Russia? Or Germany during the Nazis? Because That is what this administration is aiming for. If you haven't recognized that by what they're doing, if you're not protecting those LGBTQ folks of that you know, or your neighbors, or people of color, then you're not aware of what's happening. And we could easily be Anne Franks and those who betrayed them and outed them. It is that serious and that advanced in America right now. And no one is safe coming to America. And that includes if you're white. It doesn't matter. They've got a hard on if you weren't born in America and white. They have a problem with you. So don't get confused. Well, I'm white. They've done it to Australian people. They've done it to Canadian people. They've done it to German people. German teens. Yep. As soon as they hit California, TSA was on their ass. It's not safe in America if you weren't born and white. If you weren't born here. I don't know how much more I need to explain that. FIFA and any of the sports competitions, you should not allow the USA to host any of them in 2025 until this administration is out of office. Because some of your players, some of your sports team coaches, they will be detained. I guarantee you. I'm warning you. Cancel them. Have another country host it. Have Canada or Mexico host it. Why don't you do that? Do not host any cultural or sports international things in America until they are disposed of. I'm telling you, do not assume because you're white you will be safe. You will not be safe. Don't listen if you don't want to, but don't complain, and don't expect if you make a video later complaining about that. It happened. No sympathy from me because I told you not to. I know there's some influencers talking from Europe and stuff, talking about visiting, and they should not be here. They should be not here if they want to be safe. There's a family from Australia or New Zealand here, and they're playing with fire. They're playing with fire, and I hope they're safe because I like them. I'm trying to warn you folks. There's a very good chance. There's just as good a chance as you will as you won't. It's a crapshoot if you're white. But they have still detained people that are white if you weren't born in America. They're delusional people. They have no solid stableness, okay? They have no stability. Do not risk it. Put your trip off for another year until they're gone. Something will happen because this can't be sustained. I am trying to tell you something. Do you want to be visiting the United States if a fucking civil war breaks out between us? Seriously, is that what you want to be? In the middle of that? I'm not kidding with you people. I'm serious. Don't come to America right now. You aren't safe. It's not that we don't want you. We want you to stay safe. Please listen to us. God, every day I see people, I'm planning on visiting this summer. Do you not pay attention? Do you want them to send you to El Salvador, where they'll never get you out? Do you want your kids to see that while you're on vacation, while they're stranded in a country, and they're taken from you? Is that what you want? It can happen. It's already happened to people. Stop being stupid. Stop coming to America right now. It's not safe. It's not safe for white people.